Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is a genuine pleasure to have you in the room tonight. For those of you, and I've tried to make sure I met every new face and also, not old face, but familiar face tonight. So if I haven't made myself known to you, my name is Nathan James Crane. I am the board chair of SAFIA, the South Australian Fashion Industry Association, the peak body for fashion in South Australia. And welcome tonight to the launch, much anticipated launch of the Circular Fashion Initiative. Woo! Before we begin, I'd like to, of course, acknowledge that we're meeting in the land of the Kaurna people tonight, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. We respect from SAFIA and beyond, I'm sure in the room tonight, our respects to the world's oldest living creative culture with over 60,000 years of arts and crafts. Before we move into the program tonight, I did want to just let you know what the shape of the evening looks like. Tonight we will be outlining many of the exciting touch points and stages of the program as part of the CFI, the Circular Fashion Initiative, as well as having a little bit of a fireside chat. We will be introducing you to the wonderful Robin, who is going to be our partner in delivering this incredible landmark program for South Australia and indeed Australia. And then we have lots of time to field some questions from you. But also tonight is really about connecting with everyone in the room, people that you have met or maybe that you haven't met across all networks, both from the fashion industry, as well as government and incredible peak bodies that we have joining us tonight. So please do enjoy the opportunity to be able to cross-network across many of the amazing businesses and organisations that are in the room tonight that make up the creative industries and in particular the textile and fashion industry that we're here to bolster through this program. We also will have some more break time as well. So between the first part and second part, please also make sure you make good use of our wonderful wine and food partners tonight that have put on a beautiful spread for us. So without any more ado, I would like to invite Josh Wheeler up to say a few words as the Chief Executive. Look at that picture, yeah. From GISA. So please come to the stage. Josh, thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate the photo being up there. That's not one that I was expecting, but I too would like to pay my respects to the Kaurna people as the traditional custodians of the land that we're having this event on today, and acknowledge the deep spiritual connection to country and recognise that strong more than 60,000 years, and also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. I'd like to acknowledge you, Dr. Nathan James Crane, Board Chair, but also I know that we had some members of Parliament that couldn't be here today, but acknowledging their commitment to this initiative as well. Industry leaders and stakeholders, and also TAFE SA colleagues and Green Industries SA colleagues that are here today. So unlike Dr. Crane, I'm sure there's many faces in this room that I'm yet to meet. I'm Josh Wheeler, Chief Executive of Green Industries SA, and we're the state government agency that's driving the transition to a circular economy in South Australia, and we do that through all industry sectors, and we do that through various programs and initiatives, but really comes down to the guiding principles that are in our legislation, that is to drive the implementation of a circular economy by minimising waste and pollution wherever possible and eliminating it if we can, ensuring materials circulate through the economy to their highest value, and also regenerating natural resources. And so we're a small but dynamic team, and we work across various industries and various sectors, and this is certainly an exciting initiative for our agency. We've recently completed a public consultation on our next strategy for the next 5 years. It's a waste strategy according to our legislation, but we will refer to it as a circular economy strategy because it's about accelerating our transition to a circular economy in South Australia. That strategy covers a whole range of different topics, but textiles are certainly highlighted there as an opportunity for greater materials circularity. We've got an ambitious overarching goal of doubling our circularity rate by 2035, and there's a whole range of actions in there as to how we seek to to do that. I won't go through all of them. I'm happy to have a chat with anyone. It's also, although consultation is closed, it is still available via our website and the USA website. But if you're interested in having a chat to me or any of the team about some of those textile-specific actions that are in that draft strategy, would be welcome a chat. And although that formal consultation process is closed, we'd obviously still welcome a conversation with anyone that would like to about our strategy. It's looking ahead to 2025 to 2030 and also beyond 2030 in some respects. So we'd welcome any conversations on that today. So as I mentioned, textiles is highlighted in that draft strategy as an emerging and problematic waste stream. It's something that we know, and you all in the room know to be the case. It's not just all of a sudden, hey, this is going to be an issue in 2025 to 2030. This has been a recurring theme through our strategy documents over the last several years, going back quite a way, including our previous Zero Waste SA days. We were previously Zero Waste before we transitioned to Green Industries SA. But this strategy is for the first time drawing out textiles in particular and highlighting some of those actions that are in there. And I think that quite often we talk about textiles and people quite recognise clothing, but we recognise there's other forms of textiles and material circularity that requires addressing, but we know that clothing is a key component of that. And quite often we see circularity of clothing discussions being discussed around donating clothes for reuse. And while we recognise that as a pathway and we'll celebrate the achievements in that space, like we had a Set Your Clothes Free event in May that resulted in more than, almost 12 tonnes of high quality clothing donated to charitable partners through that event. We know that some of those donations are quite often very low quality and don't have a reuse pathway and leaves our charitable organisations with a waste stream, essentially. And so we know that there's that whole of life cycle approach is required to managing these challenges. And that's where this initiative comes in. So thank you to SAFIA for your commitment to this and for everyone that's involved. This is exactly what we need in these sorts of projects that we support at Green Industries SA. Some of those figures that we see are absolutely mind-boggling in terms of the more than 3 billion tonnes of material each year being consumed with the global textile industry. Those figures that everyone in the room will be familiar with, the average Australian, purchasing 53 items of clothing. I'm definitely not one of those. I'd like to say that's because I'm a minimalist and because I've got strong circular economy principles, but maybe it's because I don't have a strong fashion sense. And so please don't judge me today. But we know that more purchasing means more waste. And we see that with terms like fast fashion, but we also know that that's not necessarily only the case, and it's unfair. And Rob and I were having a brief conversation about this before. It's unfair to just put that on fashion. So let's have the conversation around clothing as well. And if we're serious in South Australia about reducing waste and creating a more sustainable future, we need to have that conversation at a whole of life cycle approach. And that's what this project is. So thank you. It's the first for South Australia, and it's helping everyone in the industry to become more circular. So designing out waste, but also designing in higher value considerations on input materials and the draw on natural resources. So this project aligns strongly with our overarching objectives at Green Industries SA. And while I'm talking about that, I'll just give a shout out to the Green Industries SA Business Sustainability Program team members that are here today. So Aubrey Thomas couldn't be here, but we've got Nicole Geschwin and Laura Herrero-Joquez with us. And we've also got Sharon Eade as a bonus who gets involved in not part of the Business Sustainability Program team, but probably involved in almost everything else, Sharon. So thanks for being here as well. Because they're the driving force. I get to come up and say some nice remarks and celebrate the achievements, but we've got the driving force from the people here. And so I'm sure that you've all made connections with the team. So whether you're starting your sustainability journey or you're already well on your way, the team will be here to provide support in whichever way. Our Business Sustainability Program team does that through 2 grant programs. One of them's the LEAP, the Lead, Educate, Assist, Promote grant program, which supports industry associations like what we're seeing and celebrating here tonight. But then there's also AIM, Assess, Implement, Monitor grants, which support individual businesses on their sustainability journey as well. So there's different grant streams, but grants aren't the only way. So there's guidance and support and those sorts of things. So we've got details on our website. Reach out, have a look. But that's a government service, so that's free. So these programs are part of our broader commitment, as I've mentioned, and align with the draft strategy that I've mentioned earlier today. But it also is a great example of bringing together those partners. So like this initiative brings together the industry expertise, government support, and also that shared vision for circular economy, and in this case, the fashion industry. And we know that it's not just an environmental imperative. We know that, yes, transitioning to a circular economy will help environmentally, it will help achieve the state government's net zero ambitions, but we also know it has an economic impact. And with the South Australian fashion industry contributing more than $212 million to the economy every year, that's not lost on the organisation either. And we don't see that as a trade-off. We see those benefits being able to proceed in tandem. So businesses that invest in those sustainable practices will see those benefits, and they'll see that, hopefully see that as a competitive advantage. We're seeing consumers demand more in this space, and hopefully those here today will see that competitive advantage in pursuing these initiatives too. So we at Green Industries SA, if I can speak on behalf of the whole organisation, but I know the team is as well, really excited and proud to be partnering on this initiative, and thank everyone for bringing it together, and also thanks for inviting me to be here and just make some remarks tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Josh. It was I'll move on, I promise. It genuinely, though, is a pleasure to have the entire GISA team here and to have worked with them over many months to have shaped up this grant. So it's a genuine pleasure to be able to deliver that. With that in mind, I would like to outline for you, broadly speaking, our aims and initiatives with this program before I will hand over to Robin to take you through each of those stages in more detail. So the Circular Fashion Initiative really is this landmark program that we envisioned to be able to really impact design at the drawing board all the way through to production and manufacturing. So we were really wanting to make sure that while we could academically and theoretically look at ways in which to actually affect change, be able to deliver real learning through a series of workshops and one-on-one components that you'll hear about tonight that really do deeply, hopefully, impart and change the way that design is practiced here in South Australia and more broadly in Australia and beyond. So spanning 2 years, this program has a number of really dynamic blends of expert-led masterclasses, tailored workshops, and personalised consulting with one-on-one businesses and teams to be able to deliver a program of learning and knowledge impartment that will allow real change, as I said, to happen through all and varying sizes of businesses, from sole practitioners all the way through to medium to large size brands and businesses here in South Australia. So as I said, many a time when we announced this a few weeks ago, it really is genuinely open to any and all designers and textile workers in South Australia. And we are really proud to be able to be as diverse and broad in welcoming everybody here and beyond to participate in this program as well. So it kind of went a little bit crazy last week and the week before. This is a little bit snapshot. We worked and we prepared with the GISA team, but we were really genuinely, again, delightfully surprised at the pickup. So we managed to pick up about 10 individual pieces of media across both state and national reporting agencies, as well as hearing me on 5AA the day after, talking up both our support with GISA and the broader aims and ambitions of the program. So for me, what that shows is that there is both a need and an appetite to deliver programs like this in really applied and actionable ways. And so our commitment from SAFIA is to make sure that that program is delivering on those promises and that we can continue to have good news stories like this about fashion and the ways in which we can positively impact on the creative industries in South Australia, rather than there always being headlines about fast fashion in the ways that, of course, we very much acknowledge need to change, we can also provide some solutions for a better future as well. So let me move to an overarching view of the grant program delivered, as Josh said, through the LEAP grant program with Green Industries South Australia. So the first is a series of masterclasses that begin from next month and roll out through September, October and November. And all sessions will be run in this very room. So we thank UniSA for their partnership in delivering these. And they're going to be both in person and online. So we have really been aware of the distribution and the way in which we want to share this knowledge as widely as possible. So we'll be hosting those through our touch points, through some live streaming components that we have arranged, as well as in person in the room facilitation with the wonderful Robin. Each of these are thematically set and will be scaffolded in terms of the topics that we'll be covering that we believe are the most cutting edge, but also the most fundamental through to the most sort of complex or advanced thinking. And we're going to step everyone through each of those components. Now, the way, and again, Robin will in detail outline these for you, but the way we've imagined them from a sort of zoomed out perspective is that you can engage with one or all of these workshops, depending on your particular interests and needs of your business and practice. So they are built as a package, but they're also very much designed to be in and of, in and of themselves. It's also open to all and any of the design community. So if you are a SAFIA member, thank you for being here tonight. But if you do have friends and colleagues in the industry that aren't part of SAFIA, we also want to welcome them to be part of this program as well. So we, of course, are delivering value to our lovely members, of which there are over 400 in South Australia. But we also wanted to make sure that that outreach, again, was very much about accessibility and transparency to all businesses. We will then move into the next stages, which are a series of bespoke workshops that really look at transforming knowledge into action. And this really is the counterpoint to my introduction before about making really actionable takeaway learning that can be implemented into your business in really practical ways. So these particular workshops really will follow the masterclasses, and they will be an expression of interest stage that will allow you to have more guided and supported events and activities through a series of steps and consulting processes, working again with Robin. What we've designed these programs to do is work through a funnel in a sense. So starting with those broader masterclasses and then moving through to a more tailored approach before, not to preempt the next stages, but before then more publicly sharing those outcomes as well. So those bespoke workshops will then be followed by a one-to-one or one-to-two sustainability project, which is a focused business case that will have individualised, tailored support, looking at things from packaging through to fibres, mapping supply chains, as well as piloting take-back schemes. So this is really where the ideas become implemented in a real-world practicing business. And we're really proud and passionate to be able to deliver these outcomes to those 1 to 2 businesses to make real impact and become, to be honest, leaders and case studies, shining lights, if you like, in the industry to show that the real world change can occur with implementing these ideas and concepts. And part of the outcomes for us will also be documenting and sharing that support back to the broader community to actually demonstrate the impact that circular fashion initiatives can have to practice in South Australia. We also have a number of deliverables that we're going to share far and wide as much as we possibly can. So we will be developing 2 sustainability toolkits for fashion and textile businesses. The first toolkit will be really focusing on a guide to beginning the sustainability fashion journey. Now, there have been over the last few years some other toolkits that are developed or kind of broader guides, but this really is going to look at ways in which we're translating our aims and ambitions with this program and making them really tailored and specific to both the South Australian and Australian contexts. The second toolkit is also really looking at a fashion sustainability assessment toolkit. And so you'll be able to take that away and apply that to your own business and your practices to begin to, again, see through transparency and a scaffolded approach, the ways in which you can implement and assess where you're at and where you'd like to head. We then finish with a bit of a party, a circular fashion symposium. So this will be a final stage in March 2027, in and around that date, which we hope to be a really broadly, not only broadcast, but attended symposium. So a conference specifically reporting back on the Circular Fashion Initiative and all of the wonderful things that we've been able to work through with all of the designers and businesses that have engaged with the program, but also to provide platforms for discussions, talks, panels, and world-leading experts to be able to come and speak on these topics. And Robin and I have already been dreaming away and planning some of these wonderful speakers and experts that we think we'll be able to get here to, again, as South Australia always does, lead the conversation in the areas of sustainability and circular fashion. So that's the next 2 years. We look forward to really working with you in detail around that. What I would like to do now is to welcome up Robin Wild, who is going to be our partner in delivering this. Now, I don't have an image for you, Robin, but I do have a short bio that I did want to just read out, if that's okay, just to premise everyone.
Yeah. Thank God about the photo.
Yeah. So Robin has over a decade dedicated to sustainability in fashion and more than 20 years in the industry. Robin Wild has built a global career spanning the UK, New Zealand and Australia. Her work has led her across 11 countries where she's had the rare opportunity to see the entire fashion supply chain in action, learning directly from the makers, mills and manufacturers that drive our industry. I'm going to leave that there and please do share with us more, but can you please help me in welcoming Robin?
Just one moment. Let's see if I can open it. There we go. Awesome. I would firstly like to say that I am feeling so honoured and privileged to be able to be in a position to be here with SAFIA and with Green Industries. It is such an amazing opportunity and I'm really excited. Telling everyone I know at every opportunity, so I'm sorry if I chew your ear off about this, but it really is such an amazing opportunity and I'm really excited. So we are all here because we love fashion. Well, at the very least, we wear clothes, right? This industry is creative, beautiful, and deeply human. It provides confidence, creates moments of joy, and allows true self-expression. We work in a space that connects creativity, identity, and daily life. What a privilege. I want to thank you all for being here. I know how busy you are. And looking at some of the faces in the room, I really know how busy you are. Tonight, we are taking steps through the support of SAFIA and Giza to, sorry, just lost my place. Give me a moment. Yes, thank you for being here. With the support, we are supporting the South Australian fashion industry that we love and providing opportunities to embed lasting practical sustainability. We are setting up masterclasses. As Nathan has said, we're doing 4 masterclasses, and they are all topics that I'm really excited about. So whether you're just beginning or already leading in the sustainability space, these sessions are designed to move you forward. You will leave each masterclass with something tangible, a tool, a framework, a change ready to implement. So this is masterclass 1. Ethical sourcing and supply chain mapping. So ethical sourcing to me is not just the ethics of people, but also the ethics of the world. So it's both of those things are intertwined in every way. You can't have a sustainable supply chain without looking after your people. So have you ever truly traced where every part of your garment is coming from? Not just where it's sewn, but where the fibre is grown or produced, the trims, how it's spun, dyed, knitted, printed or finished. Every step in the supply chain is a story, and understanding that journey is key to sourcing responsibly. In this session, we go behind the scenes. We learn how to trace your garments from raw fibre to finished product, spot the risk areas, and get confident in sourcing ethically and sustainably, even in an industry that thrives on opacity. We'll dive into real examples, global case studies, and stories from supplier visits. Plus, you'll have the chance to start to map your own product's journey and begin building a supply chain that you can proudly stand behind. This session covers supply chain mapping, ethical sourcing, certifications, the living wage, traceability technologies, and case studies of brands that have improved their transparency. You will leave with the tools to trace your supply chain and make informed, value-aligned sourcing decisions. Masterclass 2, Fibre Matrix and Fibre Audit Tools. This is on the 8th of September. Not all fibres are created equal. In fact, the choices you make at the fibre stage are some of the most powerful when it comes to sustainability. From organic natural fibres to recycled synthetics and emerging regenerative fibres, I will help you to navigate fibre choices with clarity and confidence. This session is about getting smart and strategic with your materials. We're all working to a budget, right? We'll explore fibre impacts, microplastic, water use, deforestation, break down what makes a fibre preferred, and look at the real tools and matrices used by top brands and helping you choose better. You'll run your own mini fibre audit and leave with clear ways to create a fibre matrix and improve your fibre mix. Plus, I'll share some real-world fibre surprises from my own journey, including what I thought was sustainable in 2013 and how different that is now. And then we've got Masterclass 3, Designing for Circularity and End-of-Life Product Considerations, Embedding Circularity into Your Business. So this will be October the 14th. What happens after someone wears your clothes? Is that the responsibility of your business? Circular design means thinking beyond the point of sale and into the future life of your products. Design is at the heart of circular fashion. We will use all our creative thinking, looking at how to design garments that last, that are loved, that can be reworked, restyled, taken back, recycled, remade, or even composted. You'll discover the principles behind circular design and how leading brands from Stella McCartney and Patagonia to small Aussie brands are making it work. We will explore long-lasting material trims, take-back schemes, and circular business models. You will leave with at least one circular idea that you can start on right now, whether it's redesigning or offering repair on a product or reimagining your whole business model. And then we've got Masterclass 4, Sustainable Packaging, Labelling and Branding Solutions. It's in Tuesday, the 11th of November. Packaging is often the last thing we think about as designers and fashion experts, but it's one of the first things our customer sees. In this session, we take a deep dive into low-impact packaging, sustainable labels, swing tags, care labels, and how they communicate your brand. We'll explore what's possible. Dissolvable bags instead of poly bags are possible. Recycled paper tags, zero plastic shipping. The complications of this and the expense of this, and how even the smallest changes can make a huge difference. We'll look at what's new, like Australia's 2025 packaging targets and labelling rules. Bring your current packaging, and by the end of the night, you'll have options for what will work for your brand, what to switch, and how to lower your footprint while staying in budget and keeping a premium customer experience. In conclusion, whether you're a founder, creative director, student, assistant, change maker, or sustainability lead, these sessions are designed to meet you where you're at and to help chart a path forward. Participation is open to everyone across the fashion and textile community. No SAFIA membership is required to participate. Having said that, spaces are limited, so register early to secure your place and to be part of reshaping the future of our incredible South Australian fashion industry, ethically, intelligently, and collaborative. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Isn't she great? So, much excitement to be had over the next 4 months. So much learning, all in this space, so many takeaways, and we're genuinely excited to deliver this for you. Now, having heard all of the program and its contents, we now would like to open up to you to ask any questions that either myself, Robin, or perhaps if the Geezer team are happy to take any questions as well about the program, ways to engage, how to sign up, anything like that, we would be very happy to open that up before we have another little snack and drink break before we come back. So what questions do you have for us? Do you have any questions? Katya.
Hey, how the content is applicable to accessory designers working with leather, apart from packaging workshop?
Mm-hmm. Robin, did you want to maybe jump up here with me as well? Because I feel like I'm going to defer to you a lot on this one. Do you want to take that question?
Yes, definitely. When we're talking about fabrics, we're talking about all of the fabrics. So mapping your supply chain is absolutely pertinent because bags need to be made of something, leather included. There is a really interesting supply chain for leather. There's very ethical leather, there's very damaging leather, lots of the toxins, as you would well know. But the idea is the same across accessories or clothing, that you're looking at each stage of that supply chain, where your zips come from, where the metal comes from for the shoulder straps, for your beautiful bags. I love them. They're so nice. So there is a lot of crossover, but also for fibre audits, fibre matrix, there's a lot more to it than just the leather on the outside. Again, as you can see when you hold one of your beautiful bags. So a lot of the processes are very similar across accessories and fashion. There will just be a different supply chain. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
So how can we aware more people about sustainability? So even after owning a business which is totally about sustainability, how I find hard is you can't make a difference in the opinion, like that people like finding your niche, like finding your client, your customer. It just makes me feel like where are those customers who really believe in sustainability?
Yeah. I'm going to half answer that question, but I'm also going to hook you through until after the break, because we have an incredible fireside chat that's going to talk about that exact thing with a very, very talented expert in the room with us, specifically around brand transparency and communicating these through your marketing and branding. So it is a challenge that we recognise, and certainly I would imagine, particularly in Masterclass 4 that talks about branding and some of those components, we can pick those up as well. So it's a challenge that we're very aware of. Did you want to add anything to that as well at this stage?
No, I totally hear. We've been trained as customers and the general people to not really relate sustainability with clothing. And also people think a t-shirt's worth $5. when that's not the case. So it is a lot of untraining and a lot of communicating, and that is one of the things that we're looking at through this process, is to, through our community, through the South Australian fashion industry, that we can be communicating that with the general population as well, and they can see the value in that. Yeah, but it is tricky.
We don't compare clothing as apple to apple. We would just go Kmart and buy $10, but we say $50 for a t-shirt, but
Yeah.
we don't see what's behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, people have no idea how clothes are made. People walk around them every day and have absolutely no clue that you even sew it with a sewing machine. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
And that's certainly, noting your question, that's certainly the aim too of both SAFIA, but certainly through the toolkits and the broader distribution of some of our outputs is the education piece that follows as well. So thank you for the question. Angelina.
Thank you, and that was actually the question I wanted to ask, because I'm also aware of how little people really understand about what they're holding at any point. How do you, it's an enormous challenge, but how do you see, where do you kind of start with that, with that challenge of really educating people about what they've got in their hands?
So yeah, that's a great question. It's a really tricky thing to be able to communicate to people. And there's been a lot of studies on having a sustainable option, which is a bit more expensive, and then the regular option, and people just choose the cheaper option. I think a big part of this is going to need to be government involvement. I think there needs to be legislation. I think there needs to be more transparency in how things are made. And France is really leading the way at the moment with some really incredible legislation around limiting the scope of fast fashion and making fashion, like the cost of that, obvious to everyone, but also pretty much fining €5 a piece for anyone who doesn't meet their criteria, which is pretty amazing. But I think that is going to have to be one of the fallbacks, because I think that if humans are offered a cheaper version, then we're going to take it. So there needs to be some kind of, involvement.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you've got an answer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just thought I can't let the government in the room off the hook with that sort of.
If you could provide, that would be amazing.
No. Like it's not going to, give you the perfect answer, but within that draft strategy that we've released for consultation and we'll be finalising and adopting later this year, some of those actions relate to that. And so one of them is related to that supporting product stewardship approaches, where yes, there's the education behaviour change element, but also just making things, part of the purchasing decisions and having people along that journey, perhaps not being aware. Sometimes that's what's required. But there's also an action specifically to encouraging behaviour change programs as well. For those that know Green Industries SA, we run lots of education campaigns. We've got a lot in that sort of witch bin space, but also we move into other areas of the hierarchy as well, the waste management hierarchy. So there's an action specifically about education programs for behaviour change in textiles in the draft strategy. I'll hang around.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Love it. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
My questions are around end use and compostability, councils setting up facilities that are easily accessible to all of South Australia. Yeah, I have lots of questions about that, because I see that being a big problem. Quite a few of shops now refusing to take more product. What are we going to do with it? So what's going to happen to that waste?
Look at it.
Josh.
Happy to. Yeah. Pleasingly, I think it's more than 80% of South Australian households have access to curbside recycling for organics. So that's available in South Australia. But I think for that question, we'll probably be talking about the other way around in terms of how do we, when higher up the hierarchy, the avoidance piece, the reuse and repair and those sorts of activities, and when we get into that end-of-life pathway, how are we able to move into recycling pathways that go back into reducing raw input materials. Composting, great sort of option there, but it's...
Not only that something is compostable, but are we composting it? So actually making sure that
And making sure that the thread is also compostable as well.
Yes, and certifications associated with that, so people can have confidence in those. And I think that probably gets to the masterclass 4 from the sound of it in some of that as well. Yeah.
But that's definitely about retraining the way that people recycle. Yes.
There is people working on a compostable standard for clothing. It's not currently allowed in green waste. Please don't put your clothes in the green bin. It messes with their shredders. It needs to be.
Let me just clarify. Yes, certified compostable materials only, but in terms of people having access to those systems, they've got access to them. But please don't take that as a message to put clothing in the organics bin. No. Not until there's a composting standard, which is in the works.
What we might do there is take a break. Please feel free to top up your glasses. Please grab some more of the fabulous food that Under the Fig have partnered with us to provide tonight. We're going to have a short break, 15 minutes. We're going to come back. We're then going to have a fireside chat with Robin and with the wonderful Dr. Kate Sansome about brand transparency and a number of other issues that pick up on a number of these questions, actually. So that's fantastic that we'll be able to dig more in depth of that. So please stick around. We'll see you in another 15 minutes or so and we'll continue the conversation. Thank you. Welcome back. We hope you were able to top up your glasses and those plates as well. We are now going to have a little bit of what we've called a fireside chat, but really dive in a little bit more into some of the topics that we're going to cover across the masterclasses, but just as another way of opening up the conversation, really. So it's going to be very conversational. I have a few prompt points here, but as I tend to do, I'm going to go a little bit off script as well and just see where the conversation goes. So we've met the wonderful Robin, but I'd also now like to introduce you to Dr. Kate Sansome, who is a lecturer and research fellow in marketing at the University of Adelaide and brings specialised knowledge in brand transparency and the circular economy, particularly within the clothing and textiles sector. Her research focuses on understanding consumer engagement with sustainable practices and identifying barriers to the adoption of circular business models, such as leasing and reuse. Now, Kate's work includes developing frameworks for assessing technology readiness with a focus on facilitating awareness and behaviour change for a more circular economy. So could you please welcome both Robin and Kate? So the conversations have already begun, and we've already had some fabulous questions which touch upon some of the points we thought about earlier. The first point we really wanted to, I suppose, talk about a little bit more is, he says, looking for his questions here, is this idea of sort of from research to runway as a initial concept. So, Kate, your research explores how consumers engage with sustainable practices. What do you see as the biggest psychological or behavioural barriers to stopping people from adopting circular models? And that goes to a couple of questions we had earlier as well.
That's a really good question. And I think in the break I was wondering, am I going to have more problems rather than solutions, more kind of like negative insights? But I think perhaps the biggest psychological and behavioural barrier is just consumers have got into the habit and the convenience of being able to either just go through Rundle Mall and go to Kmart and buy a new piece of item of clothing, or to order online from, I don't know, like an ASOS or an Iconic. So with online shopping and just like everything becoming much more convenient and accessible, it's often easier and more convenient or even cheaper to buy new than to go to somewhere to get it repaired. Talking to people, they're saying, well, it's easier to buy a new T-shirt than it is to get it repaired or learn how to sew, or even to like learn how to properly take care of a piece of clothing. It's just easier to buy new. So I think like the biggest barrier, and perhaps it's like gone on for too long, particularly with this I'm not going to get too much into demographics and generations, but from talking to various generations, there is differences in terms of like older people and how they care and kind of appreciate clothing, perhaps because they've grown up in a time where they had more of like a scarcity. They didn't have access to new clothing. So particularly with younger generations, it's just easier to buy new. So yeah. And also just trying something new, talking to consumers about more subscription-based models where it's like leasing, maybe where you do the subscription where you get 6 items of clothing, of secondhand clothing. It's just something new and they're not familiar with it. And often when people are unfamiliar with something new, they just kind of get a bit skeptical, a bit cynical. So maybe it's about using influencers or just normalizing it to kind of become more familiar with these new models.
Wonderful. Well, Robin, my question kind of picks up on that a bit. How do those behaviours show up in businesses or on the ground? And what do you think are maybe some first steps to overcoming them from a brand perspective?
Usually the biggest stoppage, as you would probably all know, is time and money with any of this circular or sustainable changes within a business. Most people I know that work in fashion are so busy chasing their tail, trying to get what they need to get done, that spending the time to source a more sustainable fabric to start off with, it just takes time that they don't have. So I think that time is definitely one of the stoppages, but also it's quite overwhelming, like looking at what your brand does or what you do and then thinking about the change, just like you said, actually, changing a model for consumers, it's also changing the way that you work. So I would suggest small changes to start with, small changes, and it gives you the confidence to be able to move to the next step. So even having buttons that you order extra buttons when you make your garments, and those buttons can be used when people lose a button. You can just replace that, or you can send the button to them. It's such a small thing, and it doesn't take a lot of time and energy to do, but it does make a difference, and those garments won't be potentially thrown away or not used anymore or just sat in the back of the cupboard. And that's something that just gives you confidence to take the next step. And things like linings. Lining is something that you use across the range. And if you source a more sustainable lining, it has a huge impact on your fibre mix. But it's one thing that you need to source, and you can use it, and you can buy bigger minimums, so get cheaper prices. So there's little steps, and when you do those little steps, it gives you confidence to make the next step.
Yeah, fantastic. My next question picks up on that a little bit more. So you've been really lucky to be able to see material and supply innovations across the world. What sort of next-gen technologies do you think have the potential to make circularity more viable at scale, in particular at scale?
So this is where I really nerd out. I love this stuff. It is so interesting. What people are coming up with now is just extraordinary. People are making clothes out of algae and out of mushrooms and like mycelial networks, like so many different and unique and amazing next-gen fabrics and that are available. They are tricky to get your hands on. They're tricky to use at scale. So I think that they will definitely in the next 15 years be an extraordinary difference within fashion. But at the moment, I think it's recycling. We've just been able to really recycle at scale. So either polyester or man-made cellulosic fibres, so like viscose, rayon. There's actually a factory that's opened up in China, which is Ying Grace, I believe it's called. And they have the capability of scaling to be able to produce fibre to fibre, post-consumer and post-industrial fibre to make new man-made cellulosic fibre about 2 million metres a year, which is 50 times around the globe. And that's extraordinary. And being able to close that loop and have the fibre turning back into fibre is amazing and also really helps with the waste issue that we all face. And so I think that's what I'm most excited about. And also there's waterless dyeing, which is happening at scale now. So there's 2 different methods. There's the carbon where it's turned into a gas liquid state, and then it's basically put into a gas chamber tank with the fabric and they just bond. So there's only one rinse process instead of many, many, many baths to dye cotton. And then there's also a lot of different algae-based and man-made cellulosic dyes, which are used during the process of making, which is also awesome. So, yeah.
Amazing. Look, I always love asking you that question because you always come with some fabulous new tech innovation. So, Kate, my question picks up on that. And really, the question is around how do we turn those technical stories into compelling narratives that compel consumers and don't confuse them?
I think for your everyday consumer, they're not necessarily concerned about the sustainability aspect of these new next-gen materials. They want to know more about, well, what is the performance of it, or how are they actually going to wash it? So people do look at the clothing tags and then they go, okay, am I going to buy this? Is it going to be easy to take care of? Do I actually have to iron it? Do I have to dry clean it? And if it becomes too hard, then they're not going to buy it. So I think with these types of new next-gen materials, again, it comes back to the fact that they're unfamiliar, they're new, and maybe explaining the science of it is not the best way to go about it. Consumers want to know, like, is it going to have any impact on their performance, on their wear, or if they're buying it online, they want to know, is that material going to feel different? How's it going to feel on their skin? So when it comes to these narratives, it's being really clear, perhaps explaining how to take care of them so that they know how to take care of them, but being really clear, not using any technical language, because once it gets a little bit too confusing, they're going to think that you're perhaps greenwashing and they'll become a bit more skeptical. So being clear, being objective, even presenting it in infographics rather than lots of text on your webpage, because again, if it's just too much, it's information overload and they'll just turn off.
Yeah, fantastic. I might pick up on that a little bit as well around greenwashing and obviously communicating out. We do see a lot of messaging, but we also see it met with a lot of skepticism and often justified skepticism. How can fashion brands communicate their circular practices with transparency and effectively without falling into the traps of, performative language, perhaps, as a way of thinking about that?
So again, it comes down to being clear and using everyday language that the consumer is going to understand. But it might not be saying things around like emissions or tons, presenting it in some sort of visual that they can see. Often when you start talking about tons, they can't visualize it. And then if we're thinking about trying to avoid greenwashing, it's not about presenting a really perfect picture of everything that you're doing, because if it's all positive, then again, they'll become really skeptical. And I think some good brands that have started to perhaps pivot from being fast fashion is an example like Garni, and I'm not sure if anyone has seen any of their stuff online with saying that they're not sustainable and they're a fast fashion brand, and then having like websites and resources for those people who are really engaged and they want to really understand how sustainable you are, and presenting a picture that we're a work in progress, we're not aiming for perfection, it may not be net zero or zero plastics. So taking the consumer on a journey with your work, trying to be more sustainable.
Fantastic, thank you. Now, the CFI program, as we said tonight, is really thinking about changing the mindset to be much more holistic and thinking about the entire life cycle of fashion. What cultural, and we did touch upon this a little bit, but let's dig in a little bit further, or structural changes would you love to see in how we design, use, and eventually part with our clothes? Maybe I'll go to you first, Robin.
Making clothing that lasts longer is the most effective way to lower the footprint of the garments that you make. So whether they're designed to be able to be resold, whether they are designed to be turned into something else. I saw an amazing pattern from, I think, the 1920s that was a skirt and a pair of trousers, and it was all done with buttons. So you could button it across and it became the front and back, and it became a pencil skirt. Very cute. And then you'd button it back the other way and it was a pair of trousers. So things like that are just, I mean, this is a delightful analogy from history. It's clearly not what we're going to be designing now, but thinking about the moving that garment through its life stages, like, is it going to last? Everybody who I've ever seen that works in production, in fact, looking at you, Martina, you're looking at quality, you're looking at it lasting, you're looking at for potential quality issues, you're looking to create a garment that is going to make somebody happy but also be able to be worn a lot of times. And I think that communicating to customers how to launder is really useful and really important, because one bad wash with a red cap, and it doesn't matter what you do with that white T-shirt, that's gone. Unless you like pink T-shirts.
I was going to say, unless you like pink.
Yeah, that's fine then. It's probably not going to be an even dye job. So this is the way that you can engage your consumers. Some of the most watched videos that I've done for any brands actually are videos of talking to camera saying, this is how you wash your clothes. People don't know, people want to know. And again, make it really simple and easy. So bringing the customers with you. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I might ask my last question, but as I do that, I always like to just plant the seed. If you do have a question in the audience, have a think, because you can have an opportunity in a couple of minutes' time to ask it. The last question really is about this idea of, for you, Kate, your frameworks about assessing technology and behavioural readiness. They're incredibly relevant, obviously, in the room tonight and in this conversation. And for you, Robin, your hands-on experience with designers and supply chains kind of adds a vital texture to the conversation. For business owners and creatives in the room tonight, what's one way that they can begin to engage, or do you have any honest advice for them to start their journey without feeling overwhelmed? Kate, did you want to start?
Yeah, I was thinking about this in the break, and one thing, you don't have to put your hand up if you don't want to, but one thing that I would love to know is how many people in this room feel like they're already on their sustainability journey? Like, raise your hand. Okay, and then how many of you feel like it is more that there's like a lack of market or the consumers aren't buying the clothes? Like, where do you think that the communication piece is where the challenge is? Raise your hand. Yeah. Okay, so I feel like for the most of the people in the room, they felt like they were on their sustainability journey. So maybe it's not about starting, but maybe it's about where's next, what's possible, taking just like small actions like you were saying before. It might not necessarily be that you're going to be a purely 100% sustainable brand, because that may not always be possible, particularly if we're living in systems that are not always the most sustainable. So maybe it's just setting one objective about how you can improve your sustainability, and what that looks like could vary depending on your business or what your challenges are. So just setting one small goal.
Robin?
I really like what's next. That's great. Looking to, I think fibre and fabric is probably one of the most pivotal changes that you can make within the business. It has the biggest impact on the carbon that's used. I know it's definitely not sustainable for larger businesses, but dead stock that already exists, so something new is not created. Anything with recycled content. There is big issues within fashion of MOQ, which is minimum quantity ordered, as we've all discovered. I'd love to have lensing tensile for everything, but oh my gosh, how many meters? 50,000 meters, okay. It counts me out. Even things like Australian cotton, getting your hands on that is really difficult because you have to order 10,000 meters. So this kind of change is not necessarily feasible for smaller businesses, but there are other ways that you can pivot into a more sustainable approach, even having a percentage of recycled fibres within your linings, like I was saying, looking at trims that are more metal, less plastic, things that can be recycled. There's a lot of different ways that you can make the garment. So Metal zips will last longer. They won't break as often. But then there's a lot of brands in Australia that have pivoted to a resale model as well, where they will take the clothes back, refurbish them and resell them. And that feels really overwhelming as a brand to do that. But the way you start is just a small collection, and you'll take those clothes back and resell them. Anything that's like a woolen blazer, that kind of thing. So you don't have to do it all for everything. You don't have to go in 100%. You can just pick what you're going to do and then resell and just see how it goes.
Wonderful. So I'd love to open up the floor now to a couple of questions, either based on some of the discussions we've had or something that's been bubbling away for you since the start of the evening. And I'll do my best to be a game show host and walk over the mic. Are there any questions? What questions do you have for our panelists? Yeah. Angelina.
I love it.
I just can't help myself. I recently saw that Iris and Wall, when you purchase one of their dresses, and they're very beautiful, you can actually then also put it onto Aerobe, so that the day that you buy it, it's already recognised that you may grow out of it, or you might not want to wear it for a few more seasons. How do you feel about those kinds of resale? Because there are so many of them. eBay's invested a huge amount of money into the back end to make it more viable, to validate also particularly very expensive pieces. So those kinds of technologies, where do you sit around those?
I think Aerobe is fantastic. It makes it so easy for customers to sell a product. You know about Aerobe. Does everybody know about Aerobe? It basically captures the details of the garment, the price, the size, the measurements, the fabric, the fibre type, the care instructions at the point of sale, and it saves it so that when you want to resell, if you want to resell that garment, if you've got your wear out of it and you're happy to move it on, it even gives you an estimated resale price. So you put it back on Aerobe, and then that can actually just the easiest thing in the world. It's like a couple of clicks. I think you have to put some details in, but not a lot. It's really low investment to be able to resell, because that's one of the biggest things that stops people. They don't want to get it out and measure it and put all of the information and try and find the information and the photos and everything. It's quite a tricky thing to do. So yeah, it just makes it easy. It's a really great piece of technology, and I think it's a great platform. I know that Depop makes it very easy as well. There's a lot of other apps and websites where you can resell your clothes. Usually it has to be a decent quality or a vintage garment to make it worth your while. So it's not going to work so well for T-shirts, unless it's a vintage band T-shirt, and then you can sell them for all the money at the moment. Wish I kept mine. Damn it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Other questions? Great. We'll go one and then two.
You said that China was doing some good things with fibre recycling. We know Queensland is doing some things, and with Block Tech. Yeah. I have been trying to get TAFE to be able to recycle textiles for like 5 years now. What is happening with South Australia? Is there any developments in South Australia?
Sadly, not at this stage that I know of, and I'm pretty hot on it. It's tricky. The Giza did a collection, a clothing collection very recently that was wearable clothes. And then also Give a Sheet was fantastic, and that was where you could go to a local centre and drop off sheets, bed linen, like all towels.
Scraps and textile waste.
Yep. I have the same trouble. I'm currently working part-time at Sally Phillips as a production manager, and we do a lot of in-house sampling, and like it breaks my heart to put any fabric in the bin. But that's unfortunately what we do. For the small scraps that are not saleable, we do keep some of them and give them to quilters and things, but there's a point where it's not helpful anymore. They're like, enough. So, and we've had that.
$200 a box to get them taken somewhere. They couldn't tell us what was happening with those boxes, so TAFE wouldn't do that. They won't ship them anywhere because the carbon footprint of shipping is just as bad. So it's just ongoing.
For you, that's start.
Yeah.
I've got lots to give you if you do.
Fantastic. And maybe we'll continue that conversation with Gisa as well. To you.
It's more like a suggestion, not question. Like you mentioned, Airborne. I was aware of Airborne, was thinking at some point, what if, as brand owners, we give the opportunity to customers to resell on the same platform, or else we educate them how to maintain it so we can make a new collection out of it. So nothing will be wasted. So how do you suggest in education?
There are a couple of brands in Australia that are doing this. I'm really racking my brain to try and remember the Melbourne brand. Is it Assembly, the label? Potentially. And they have pivoted and they will take back all clothes. They give you a 20% discount off your next purchase. I really hope that's the right brand. And then they will actually refurbish and resell within their own website. So they have a already loved section on their website. It's got a really cool name, can't remember it. And there's quite a few brands, even bigger brands that are doing that within Australia. Usually it's more of the higher original purchase price type of brand because then it's more worthwhile selling it again. But yeah, it's a matter of going on the website and having a look. They do a lot of media around it. So you can see it on their Instagram all the time. But this is probably a really good question for you to field as well.
We actually do it on our website. I was just sharing over the break that about 3 years ago we launched ISO handbags. We make them here in Adelaide, and we work with biodegradable materials such as vegetable tanned leather and wool felt. And all of our bags are stitch-free, which means we can unfold them flat and repurpose the material. So some of our customers are huge fans and they have up to 15 bags. And I was thinking, well, obviously they don't wear them all. And they also stopped shopping with us. So I feel like probably because, well, how many bags do you need? I'm like, okay, well, if I help them free up the space, they would buy more from me. And also at the same time, I was noticing that some people are selling our bags on eBay. And I'm like, I don't like them to be on eBay. Let me buy it from them and I will look after them. So what we did, we launched an initiative called Second Chance. And what we do, we allow our customers to trade in our bags and we give them a voucher for $50, or $50 for, not 50 actually anymore, $75 for a smaller bag and $150 for a bigger bag if they trade in a bigger bag. And they can either gift that voucher to their friend, so they don't have to spend the money on a gift for birthday, or they can reuse that voucher to buy a new bag from us. Now, that's half problem solved, but also because we have our own production and our studio here, we look after those bags and we resell them on our website for exactly so we're not really making money, but we're also not losing it. We're reselling the same bags for the same price, like $75, $100, $150. And people who can't afford our full-priced items would buy these bags. And originally my team was like, we're devaluing the look of the brand, like selling secondhand. We were so wrong. People are loving it. And it's not just introducing the brand to people who can't yet afford the full price bag, but also our fans jumping on it because I missed that collection. I didn't buy that color and I love that color so much. So they are buying the second hand bags as well. So yeah, it works, not only with big brands, but with us too. And it creates new revenue stream, repurposing the bags that people don't want to wear anymore. We're still challenging ourselves on how we can reuse the leather of the bags that are not good enough for reselling. We were talking about doing art pieces, but that's a secondary question. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing, Katja. Is there one more question that we have in the audience before we finish up this part of the presentation? All gone, all finished, all done. Okay. All right. Can we please thank the fabulous Dr. Kate and Robin? So that concludes the formalities for tonight. On behalf of SAFIA, we would like to again acknowledge and thank the wonderful partnership with Green Industries SA and the LEAP grant for enabling us to provide not only tonight but the next 2 years of fabulous programming. So please join me in thanking GISA. We'd also like to acknowledge the wonderful partners and sponsors that have helped make tonight possible. So Hither and Yon, who had the fabulous wine tonight. If you didn't know, it's a strategic partnership with them tonight. They are Australia's first carbon neutral winery. And so again, congratulations to them. We also had beautiful catering and service from Under the Fig, as well as the support of the ICC, in which we're here tonight, and UniSA. So thank you very much to all of our amazing sponsors that have helped us bring tonight alive. That's enough from me on the microphone. Thank you for being here tonight. The task is now over to you to spread the word. So we will do our absolute best to distribute this event, this recording, as well as all the information to our networks. But we now ask you to help us help other people as well get to know the program and to sign up and come along. So after tonight, tomorrow after I've had a little bit of sleep, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out an information pack with some of this information and for you to share and pass on to your network. So please do spread the word. The more the merrier, but as we did here before, places will be limited, but there is a hybrid model where you can also join online if you can't come the night. So thank you again. We have this space for a little bit longer, so please do enjoy some more food so that we reduce as much waste as possible. If nothing else, we've got to practice what we preach. Please connect with each other. Come up and see us as well if you have any other one-on-one questions, and the wonderful GISA team that are here. And we look forward to seeing you in Masterclass number 1 very soon next week. 12th of August. Put it in your calendars. We'll see you then. Thank you very much, everyone.